Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Six Path Weeb. Today, we're diving into part 3 of our ongoing series, What If Naruko Was Raised by the Legendary Sannin? As always, a quick disclaimer. The content shared here is purely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not own any of the anime footage featured in this video. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. With that said, let's get into it. Sakura's point of view. 3 months have passed since our first high-ranking mission. Team 7, under the leadership of our newly promoted Jounin sensei, Uzumaki Naruko, successfully brought back one of the legendary Sannin, Lady Tsunade, as well as the renowned blade of the second Hokage, the Raijin Ken. During those 3 months, Naruko-senpai significantly increased the intensity of our training. She gave us added weights to build our endurance and personally taught us one of her original techniques, Jinsoku Sokushin, rapid acceleration, a jutsu that boosts a shinobi's speed 5-fold. The training was incredibly demanding. Some days it felt like we were pushing past every limit we knew, but it was worth it. We each learned the basics of the technique Naruko-senpai used against that Aoi guy. Not long after we returned from that C-to-B ranked mission, Tsunade-sama opened the new Medical Nin Academy, which had been approved by the third Hokage. After receiving our mission compensation, Naruko-senpai generously shared the reward with all of us. Both Konohamaru-kun and I enrolled in the Medical Nin Academy. It was a surprise to see Konohamaru take such an interest in medical ninjutsu, but it showed how much he had grown. We were also each given time for personal training. One of us would rotate out from team training each month for more specialized guidance. I trained under Shizune-san, Lady Tsunade's apprentice, who helped me begin learning medical techniques for use both in the field and back at the hospital. Naruko-senpai also guided me in syncing with my inner self, inner Sakura. Apparently, my inner voice came from my habit of bottling up emotions. According to Shizune-sensei, finding balance with that part of me would help in mastering my chakra control and emotional focus. Naruko-senpai and I even developed a new technique together called Senbon Sakura Renda. It's become a reliable part of my arsenal, and I can now use it up to 5 times a day before I start to feel my chakra draining. Thanks to the guidance of both Naruko-senpai and Shizune-sensei, I've been working on improving my stamina through better nutrition and a more structured training regimen. I'm truly committed to becoming the strongest kunoichi in Konoha, just like Tsunade-sama. Konohamaru began his personal training during the 2nd month under the guidance of Jounin sensei Mito Gai, Kakashi-san's energetic rival. Though eccentric, Gai-sensei is a taijutsu expert and gave Konohamaru a strong foundation. To further support his growth, Konohamaru-kun underwent a procedure to enhance his physical strength. With permission from Asuma-sensei and the third Hokage, Tsunade-sama and Shizune-sensei helped adjust his developing muscles. However, the process unintentionally triggered a latent ability within the Sarutobi bloodline. His arms became slightly longer, and his hair grew out unexpectedly. It was later discovered that the Sarutobi clan possesses a rare affinity with the ape family, hence the name Saru, which means monkey. This transformation made Konohamaru's appearance more unique, but Team 7 never made fun of him. As Naruko-senpai reminded us, everyone deserves respect no matter their differences. With this new strength, he trained under both Tsunade-sama and Gai-sensei to master his abilities. Despite Gai-sensei's unique fashion sense, Naruko-senpai warned him in a playful but serious tone not to influence Konohamaru's wardrobe too much. Sometimes, Naruko-senpai can be intense, especially when she's protecting someone, but it's always out of care and loyalty. Speaking of training, Sasuke-kun received one-on-one instruction from Hatake Kakashi during the 3rd month. I was surprised to learn that Kakashi-san, though not an Uchiha, possesses a Sharingan in one eye. He was apparently taught by the 4th Hokage, Naruko-senpai's father, and is known as the copy ninja for having copied over 1,000 jutsu. That said, Kakashi-san does have some questionable reading habits. If I ever meet the author of Icha Paradise, I'll make sure to show him the strength of my Senbon Sakura Renda, as a demonstration of my opinion. During those same months, Naruko-senpai also supported Kurenai-sensei in training Team 8. She surprised us by initiating joint training sessions, switching roles with Kurenai-sensei so we could learn from each other's experiences. Watching Naruko-senpai train another team showed us all just how far she had come. It became clear to me then, Naruko would one day become Hokage. Flashback begins. Kurenai-sensei was supervising Sasuke and me while Naruko challenged Team 8 to a training match. Standing calmly in the center, she waited for their move. "Well?" Naruko asked gently, as Kiba and Akamaru charged forward. She watched their movement with a sharp eye. Your speed has improved, but you're still charging head-on, she observed, redirecting Kiba toward Shino, who had already released his Kikaiku bugs. Naruko noticed the insects beginning to crawl toward her and nodded in approval before glancing up at Shino behind his dark lenses. Well played, Aburame-san. And Hyuga-san, she said, turning around just as Hinata appeared behind her, chakra pulsing in her hand. Though visibly nervous, Hinata gathered her courage. You shouldn't let fear cloud your focus, Hyuga-san, Naruko said gently, making Hinata blush and look away. Thank you. Na Naruko-senpai. I'll do my best next time, Hinata stammered. Naruko gave her a warm smile. Remember what I told you about confidence? Hinata's cheeks flushed brighter, but she nodded. Naruko resumed the match, now facing all three members. Great teamwork. You've managed to touch me twice now, she said encouragingly, leaping gracefully to avoid Akamaru and then dispersing Shino's bugs with a burst of chakra. As Kiba attacked again with Hinata close behind, Naruko noted the fire in Hinata's eyes. Good. She's starting to believe in herself, she thought, engaging Hinata in brief hand-to-hand combat. From a distance, Sasuke and I watched as Naruko pushed Team 8 past their limits. Never give up, Naruko reminded them. You each have goals to reach. Hinata-san, come here for a moment. I have something to show you. Meanwhile, Kurenai-sensei guided Sasuke and me through genjutsu practice. While observing Naruko, she noticed something unusual. She's not training them like Jinan. Kurenai realized. She's training them like an elite Onbu squad. It made sense now. Our movements, coordination, and discipline were well beyond average. Kurenai felt a twinge of admiration, and even a little jealousy, for Naruko's leadership style. While she had just introduced basic tree climbing techniques, Naruko was cultivating advanced teamwork and discipline. Just then, Naruko called for a break. The session had ended, but the lesson stayed with us. End of flashback. Those 3 months changed everything. Under Naruko-senpai's guidance, we didn't just train, we grew. Not only stronger in jutsu, but closer as teammates. I believe in her now more than ever. One day, she will become Hokage. Team 7's Chunin exam journey. I never quite understood why Kurenai-sensei often asked Naruko-senpai to help with our training. Kurenai-sensei was already doing a great job, but maybe it was the way Kiba always quieted down when Naruko was around, or how much Hinata improved under her guidance. The once shy Hyuga heiress no longer stammered when speaking and had become much more confident in her abilities. Her skills had grown impressively. After a 3-month training period, Naruko-senpai surprised us by recommending us for the upcoming Chunin selection exam. I couldn't wait to see how I measured up, especially against Ino or even shinobi from other villages. Naruko-senpai told us to be fully prepared, and though she was initially hesitant about entering us so soon, both Kurenai-sensei and Asuma-sensei eventually convinced her. The first part of the exam was a written test, and to be honest, it was a breeze for me. I noticed Sasuke-kun using his Sharingan to mimic the hand movements of the person in front of him. What really worried me was Konohamaru, who looked extremely nervous. I thought he might raise his hand and withdraw, but true to Naruko-senpai's teachings, he stayed strong. In fact, he was the one who answered the final question posed by the stern examiner. The second part of the exam introduced a new proctor, a bold and energetic kunoichi named Mitarashi Anko. Most of the participants seemed fascinated by her confidence despite her strict demeanor. There was something intense in her gaze, reminiscent of Naruko-senpai's when she was focused. Suddenly, I sensed a strong, intimidating presence heading our way. Trying to remain calm, I glanced around and found myself locking eyes with a red-haired ninja from the Sand Village. His eyes were expressionless and unsettling. I quickly looked away. After Sasuke-kun handed over our paperwork and retrieved our heaven scroll, Konohamaru guided our team toward Gate 12, where the next part of the exam would begin. What's the plan, Sakura? Sasuke asked, sitting on a tree stump. Meanwhile, Konohamaru checked our gear and handed out the small radio transmitters we always carried. I caught mine and turned my attention toward the dense forest beyond the gate. After carefully considering our options, I finally came up with a strategy. As soon as the exam starts and the gates open, we head in and secure a good campsite. We have 5 days for this exam. Once we find a place, Sasuke-kun, you'll set traps and alarms. Konohamaru, gather fruits. Animals might be too tricky to handle in this forest. I finished while brushing away the map I had drawn in the dirt. Sasuke and Konohamaru studied the layout for a moment before nodding. Do we really have to wait the full 5 days? Konohamaru asked, earning an annoyed glance from Sasuke. "We shouldn't wait it out," Sasuke replied. "Once camp is set up, Sakura, since you're good with genjutsu, you'll set up an illusion trap. Konohamaru and I will help with the rest and take care of any teams that walk into the trap." As we finalized the plan, Anko gave the signal to begin. The gate swung open, and with serious expressions, we entered the forest. At Sasuke's signal, we took to the trees, keeping within radio range. Soon, Konohamaru's voice whispered through the transmitter. He'd found a suitable spot. I quickly made my way there, leaping from branch to branch. As I traveled, I sensed faint chakra signatures following me. A smile crept onto my face. I whispered into the transmitter, "3 uninvited guests are following me." Sasuke's POV. "3 uninvited guests are following me," I heard Sakura whisper. I nodded to Konohamaru to prepare for an ambush. I'm thankful Naruko-senpai taught us those coded messages. I climbed up a tree, dragging wire behind me. Konohamaru crouched below, ready with tools and tags. Sakura entered the clearing and paused, her pursuers closing in behind her. She played her part perfectly, pretending to be tired. With a subtle motion, she launched a trap using concealed strings and kunai. As the trap activated, Konohamaru and I jumped into action. The 3 shinobi chasing Sakura, Rain Nin, were caught off guard. With coordinated moves, we quickly restrained them. Konohamaru searched their packs and retrieved the earth scroll. After securing it, I signaled to move toward the tower. "Let's head to the tower," I said, picking up speed as the eerie echoes of other teams echoed through the woods. Then, out of nowhere, a powerful wind blast struck. Using the training from Kakashi-sensei and Naruko-senpai, I landed safely near Sakura and Konohamaru. A strange figure emerged, the same grass nin from earlier. Their appearance was unsettling, their behavior even more so. "Who are you and what do you want?" I asked, signaling Sakura and Konohamaru to stay alert. Without warning, the grass nin locked eyes with us. A sudden wave of fear gripped me. I remembered something Itachi once taught me about fear-based genjutsu. To break free, I bit my lip and forced myself to focus. With effort, I moved and pulled Sakura and Konohamaru away. We barely had time to recover when a massive serpent emerged. I quickly launched a fire-style technique, Fireball Jutsu. The blast slowed it down, followed by kunai from Sakura and Konohamaru. Then the grass nin returned, now riding the serpent. The fight intensified. Sakura used a jutsu, grass-style, Vine Bind. Attempting to trap our opponent. For a moment, it worked, but then mud burst from the vines, and our enemy emerged unscathed. We regrouped, but the grass nin suddenly appeared near Konohamaru and knocked him aside. Sakura reacted fast, defending him with precise kunai throws. I'd had enough. I activated my Sharingan, everything coming into sharp focus. I launched kunai with wires, using my Sharingan to guide them. Sharingan Windmill Triple Blade. I followed with another fire technique, Fire Style, Dragon Flame Jutsu. The flames traveled down the wires and hit the mark. Exhausted, I checked on my teammates. They were recovering when the same eerie laugh echoed again. The grass nin, now revealed as someone named Orochimaru, emerged, his previous disguise melting away. "Who are you?" I asked again. "My name is Orochimaru," he said, "and I came to see if you are worthy of my gift." Before I could respond, he drew a sword and lunged at me. I blocked with my own blade, but it shattered. I tried to escape, but Orochimaru's eyes locked onto mine, another genjutsu. My body froze. Just as Orochimaru neared, something pushed me aside. I was saved, by Naruko. Normal POV. Anko leapt swiftly through the forest, determined. Reports had come in of suspicious activity, and she was certain she knew who was behind it. Kurenai, Asuma, and Naruko moved alongside her in formation. "Who are we looking for, Anko Nichin?" Naruko asked, focusing her senses. "The team from the grass village was found. In poor condition," Anko replied, choosing her words carefully. "I've contacted Anbu, but I want to stop whoever is responsible before things get worse." They pressed on, passing signs of intense battles. Suddenly, they heard the sounds of fighting. I sensed chakra signatures, it's Team 7. Naruko's eyes widened. And they're up against someone strong. Without another word, Naruko vanished with a burst of speed, racing toward her students. "Wait, Naruko!" Anko called. "That kid moves fast." As the others caught up, Anko clenched her fists. This was no ordinary exam anymore. Naruko quickly located Team 7 and Orochimaru, who were in the middle of a tense battle. Her eyes narrowed as she sensed the concealed chakra that Orochimaru had been hiding. The snake-like movements immediately revealed his true nature to her. Naruko could see Orochimaru had Sasuke cornered after finally showing his true identity. This isn't good, Naruko thought, recognizing the signature motion of the elusive shinobi. Just then, a flash of pink caught her eye. Sakura had emerged from her hiding spot and was rushing toward Sasuke. Sakura's cry echoed through the forest as Orochimaru turned toward her, but he misjudged her intent. Naruko saw Orochimaru react in frustration when he realized his plan had been disrupted. A momentary transfer of chakra passed between Sakura and Orochimaru before he retreated, clearly shaken. Sakura fainted from the sudden energy exchange. "You troublesome child. You've interfered," Orochimaru shouted, clearly agitated. He began to turn towards Sasuke again, determined to follow through with his scheme. Sasuke, having finally shaken off the paralysis, activated his Sharingan, determination burning in his eyes. Orochimaru performed a series of hand seals and shouted, "Wind style, great breakthrough." Unleashing a powerful gust. Unexpectedly, Sasuke mirrored the hand signs and unleashed the same technique. The two wind attacks collided and neutralized each other in a burst of air. Orochimaru laughed, clearly amused and fascinated by Sasuke. "Such potential. Your abilities will soon be mine," he declared, his gaze intense. Suddenly, a roar interrupted him. A large, lion-sized lizard emerged from the foliage, launching a massive fireball at Orochimaru. The creature landed protectively in front of Sasuke, bearing the Uchiha clan emblem on a cloth tied around its back. "Leave now, serpent," the lizard hissed. More lizards appeared from the trees, standing as reinforcements. Orochimaru sneered before retreating into the ground. "I'll be back. This isn't over," he warned as his form disappeared into the earth. With Orochimaru gone, Sasuke collapsed from exhaustion. Up in the trees, Naruko watched everything unfold, her expression tense. She looked down at Sakura and Konohamaru, both unconscious but safe. Anko and two other jounin arrived just as Orochimaru vanished. Naruko quickly informed Anko of the direction Orochimaru had taken. Although she wanted to stay and help her teammates, she knew she couldn't interfere further without jeopardizing the exam. Anko picked up Orochimaru's trail and gestured for Naruko to follow. She ordered the other jounin to contact the Hokage and the Anbu division. "Inform Hokage-sama and Division 6. Uzumaki Taiku is requesting support," she instructed before racing ahead. As they moved through the forest, Naruko kept her emotions in check. She placed her Anbu mask over her face and performed a series of hand signs. "Summoning technique, shield and sword," she whispered. Two warrior toads appeared in puffs of smoke, one with a large shield, the other with a broad sword. Anko raised an eyebrow. "Let's hold him off, Anko Nichin." "Reinforcements will be here soon," Naruko said, steadying her voice. Orochimaru looked up, noticing his former apprentice and Naruko. He smirked at Anko but scowled at the sight of the toads. "So, Jiraiya taught you to summon the toads?" he hissed. Naruko said nothing, standing confidently beside her ally. Then she shouted, "Water style, water dragon jutsu." A mighty dragon formed from the surrounding moisture and surged toward Orochimaru, who quickly countered with his own technique. Striking shadow snakes. Anko joined in, sending snakes from her sleeves to bind him. But Orochimaru's form turned into mud, it was a clone. Naruko focused, trying to locate the real Orochimaru. The villain suddenly lunged at Anko from behind, but the shield-bearing toad jumped in, blocking the strike. The sword-wielding toad followed up with a powerful slash, forcing Orochimaru to retreat. "Curse these summons," Orochimaru exclaimed, summoning a massive snake to his side. Mounted atop the beast, Orochimaru attempted to overpower the toads, but dozens of Naruko's clones swarmed the battlefield, slowing him down. Anko engaged Orochimaru directly in hand-to-hand combat. Despite her efforts, Orochimaru's superior experience gave him the upper hand. Naruko leapt in to assist, exchanging blows with the cunning enemy. The battle intensified. Naruko's punch narrowly missed as Orochimaru twisted away, her fist slamming into a tree. Bark exploded outward. Orochimaru quickly made a deduction about her strength. "Looks like both Tsunade and Jiraiya had a hand in your training. But what makes you so special to gain their attention?" he questioned as a snake emerged from his mouth, presenting a hilt. Inside Naruko, the nine-tailed fox stirred. "That sword. It's the Kusanagi," it whispered with alarm. Naruko remained calm, her gaze fixed on the sword now in Orochimaru's grip. So this is the legendary blade, she thought as Orochimaru attacked. Naruko swiftly turned and blocked with her own weapon. Their swords clashed, power radiating from the impact. It didn't break? Orochimaru said, surprised. He noticed the faint glow of red chakra surrounding Naruko. So, you're the one they spoke of, he added with a sly grin. Orochimaru lunged forward again, catching Naruko off guard. But it was a clone. The real Naruko struck from behind, her punch sending Orochimaru flying. Recovering, Orochimaru released an intense pressure, momentarily forcing Naruko back. He charged again, but Naruko's clone stepped in, distracting him. Performing a set of intricate hand seals, Naruko focused on the water in the air. Secret technique, Great Ice Mirror Ring. Mirrors of ice encircled Orochimaru. As Anko woke up, she saw the structure and prepared herself. Orochimaru chuckled, summoning mud clones and retrieving the Kusanagi with a gesture. The sword flew through the air, breaking one of the ice mirrors and scattering the clones. Naruko barely reacted in time as Orochimaru's tongue coiled around her, lifting her into the air. He reached out and placed his palm on her abdomen. Let's see how you handle this, he declared. 5-element seal. A new seal appeared, disrupting her connection to the nine-tailed fox. Naruko dropped to the ground, weakened but still conscious. Anko sprang forward to assist, launching snakes at Orochimaru. He deflected them easily, stepping toward her. Suddenly, he paused, sensing powerful chakra signatures around him. What are you doing here, Orochimaru? Came a calm but firm voice. Turning, Orochimaru saw his former sensei, the third Hokage, standing with a group of elite Anbu behind him. The black-robed shinobi wore animal-themed masks, their presence undeniable. Sarutobi sensei stood calm and unwavering as Orochimaru emerged, a sly smile playing on the snake-like shinobi's lips. I was just passing through, wondering if you're still holding up well, and whether you've given some thought about making me the 5th Hokage, Orochimaru said, his tone mischievous as he subtly readied himself for retreat. The Sandaime merely shook his head, not rising to the bait, instead waiting for Orochimaru's inevitable move. Meanwhile, Naruko, the spirited blonde jounin, stirred where she had been thrown earlier. Disoriented and weak, she noticed that something was interfering with her seal. The icy ring of her earlier technique was crumbling from her waning chakra control. Orochimaru glanced at her, amusement flickering in his eyes. Still quite determined, I see, he murmured. The Sandaime responded coolly, you had the opportunity to stop Naruko, yet you hesitated. Naruko attempted to reach her inner tenant, but a mysterious interference blocked her access. Orochimaru then released a wave of chakra pressure, attempting to unnerve his former mentor and the young kunoichi. The Sandaime stood firm, while Naruko, though visibly strained, summoned her Zanpaku to combat the force with her own chakra. Humph! Even with this intensity, she still manages to stand? Orochimaru said in mild surprise. Naruko narrowed her eyes, meeting Orochimaru's gaze with unwavering resolve. Stronger than expected, aren't you, Naruko? He chuckled ominously. What are you really here for, Orochimaru? Asked Sarutobi, stepping forward with composed authority. In response, Orochimaru conjured his sword, the Kusanagi, and smiled as he found himself encircled by Anbu and his former teacher. I was merely evaluating my next candidate, he replied, thinking back to the unexpected intervention of the fire-breathing Komodo dragons. Do not interrupt the Chunin exams, Sarutobi-sensei. Or there will be consequences. With those parting words, he vanished into the earth. Anko and Naruko prepared to pursue him, but a single signal from the Sandaime stopped them. As Orochimaru vanished, the immense chakra pressure also dissipated. Many Anbu dropped to their knees, relieved. Naruko fell to one knee, exhausted and her energy nearly depleted. Seconds later, she collapsed fully, her stomach revealed as a glowing pattern briefly flickered across her seal before fading. A 5-element seal. Sarutobi muttered, lifting Naruko onto his shoulders. What are you scheming, Orochimaru? The recovered Anbu helped carry their injured teammates and Anko as they retreated to the tower. Some glanced worriedly at Naruko, their commanding officer, uneasy about how she would react once awake. Kakashi, one of the few still alert, carried Anko in silence, exchanging solemn nods with his comrades. On the way, he spotted Team 7. Surrounded by a group of massive, lizard-like creatures. His eyes widened. Seen, Team 7 and the Komodo dragons. Down below, Team 7 was in a defensive position. Sasuke sat near the largest of the lizards, flanked by Konohamaru and an unconscious Sakura. He glanced with concern at his teammate, noting the strange symbol on her forehead. Konohamaru focused on Sakura, tending to her wounds. He paid little attention to the creatures, reassured by the Uchiha clan emblem displayed on one of them. "So, you're the Uchiha fire lizards?" Sasuke asked. "I told you, we are Komodo dragons." The leader roared, slamming its tail into the ground, sending tremors through the earth. Sasuke frowned. "Then why haven't I heard of you before?" "You weren't meant to. We only reveal ourselves to Uchiha members once they reach 15 summers. And due to past events, we could no longer be summoned, until now," the dragon said, referencing the fall of the Uchiha clan. "You mean Itachi?" Sasuke asked. The dragon nodded, then presented a scroll with names of past summoners. "Itachi never performed the bonding ritual. Your father was disappointed. But now, with the snake tribe re-emerging, we act." Though not of age, Sasuke was permitted to sign the scroll. He did so beside his father's name. "I am Ryusuke, leader of this group," the dragon explained. "The elders can be summoned once you've learned the technique. Ask the White Fang's descendant for guidance, young one." The lizards retreated. Sasuke was left reflecting on the cryptic message. Just then, Konohamaru tossed him a pouch. "Ow! What was that for?" Sasuke asked, rubbing his head. Konohamaru yawned. "Just giving you something useful. I need a nap. Wake me if you mess up," he said, climbing a tree. Sasuke sighed, adjusting the blanket over Sakura as she muttered in her sleep. He noticed the cursed mark again and clenched his fists. "I'll train harder. Orochimaru won't get away with hurting my team," he muttered. Scene: ambush. Suddenly, a squirrel bolted into the camp with an explosive tag on its back. Sasuke responded quickly, sending a kunai to intercept it. Konohamaru woke up groggily, just as 3 shinobi from the Sound Village appeared. "We're here for Uchiha Sasuke," the bandaged leader declared. Traps Konohamaru had laid out activated, launching weapons toward the intruders. The one with vents in his arms, Zaku, neutralized them with a powerful air blast. Sasuke analyzed the attackers, ready to defend. Zaku charged, shouting Zankua. As he launched another gust toward Sasuke. Dodging, Sasuke found himself momentarily vulnerable, only to use substitution at the last moment. Lee arrived just in time, delivering a powerful kick to the bandaged nin, introducing himself cheerfully as Konoha's green beast. Sasuke and Lee fought side by side, Sasuke analyzing Zaku's weaknesses. The air vents, though powerful, limited his movements in close quarters. Sasuke retaliated with a barrage of fireballs hiding sharp projectiles, wounding Zaku. Konohamaru faced off against Kin, surprising her with unexpected strength. However, the battle took a toll. The trio was outnumbered and growing weary. Just as Zaku prepared to strike down Konohamaru, a surge of dark chakra pulsed through the air. All eyes turned to see Sakura standing, the strange mark glowing. She stepped forward, an unfamiliar power emanating from her. "Sasuke-kun, Konohamaru-kun. Who did this to you?" she asked calmly, though her chakra spiraled around her. Zaku arrogantly answered, "We did. And you're next." He unleashed his most powerful air blast. But as the smoke cleared, Sakura remained unharmed, standing with her teammates. She dashed forward, slashing through the blast, her chakra claws now a dark, shimmering black. "Senbone Sakura Renda," she shouted, her attack cutting through Zaku's defenses. She struck with precision, subduing Zaku swiftly. As she prepared to strike again, Sasuke and Konohamaru gently held her back, helping her return to herself. Sakura collapsed, exhausted, and Sasuke caught her. Dosu, witnessing the strength of Sakura's transformation, surrendered their scroll. "Uchiha-san. We concede. Please take this as a sign of truce," he said, placing it down before retreating. Once inside, Team 7 looked around the quiet room, trying to find any signs of life. What they found instead was a large stone tablet, etched with instructions written in the form of a poem. Sakura sat down on the ground, visibly relieved that they had completed the second exam. Her gaze drifted toward the tablet as she read it silently. Meanwhile, Sasuke held onto the 2 scrolls they had acquired. "Sasuke-kun. Toss the earth scroll to Konohamaru-kun," Sakura instructed calmly. Sasuke nodded and did as asked. "Now, open the scrolls at the same time." As the 2 scrolls were opened simultaneously, smoke began to rise from them. Wait, Konohamaru, toss the scroll to the ground. This looks like some kind of two-part summoning scroll, Sasuke warned quickly. He dropped the scroll, and the earth scroll landed on top. With a loud puff, a burst of smoke filled the room, and a figure emerged from it. Sasuke and Konohamaru instinctively stepped in front of the still-seated Sakura, ready to protect their teammate. From the mist, a familiar brown-haired Chunin stepped forward, a cheerful smile on his face as he wiped his brow. Iruka-sensei. Team 7 called out in unison, voices filled with relief. Iruka grinned at them, praising their success in passing the second stage of the Chunin selection exam. He then led the team to a resting room where they could relax. Sakura and Konohamaru immediately curled up on the futons, while Sasuke sat down in a nearby chair with a sigh of relief. You all stay here and rest. I'll go inform Lady Naruko that you've arrived, Iruka said warmly, closing the door behind him as Team 7 began to unwind. An hour later, a gentle knock stirred the team from their rest. Blinking sleep from their eyes, they stood and composed themselves as the door opened. Entering the room was Naruko, followed closely by the third Hokage and the second stage examiner. Hokage-sama. Lady Naruko, Team 7 greeted respectfully. Naruko gave them a warm wave. At ease, she said with a smile. Congratulations on passing the second stage, the Hokage said kindly. Despite their tired expressions, Team 7 beamed with pride. According to the reports from Itarashi Anko and your Jounin instructor, you encountered a highly skilled rogue ninja in the forest, the Hokage continued, his tone growing serious. Sakura subconsciously touched her forehead, aware of the mark that now rested there. From what Lady Naruko and others have reported, that person left you with something troubling, Sarutobi added with concern in his eyes. Hokage-sama. What does Orochimaru want? Sasuke asked quietly, moving slightly closer to Sakura to offer her support. The Hokage looked at him thoughtfully. My former student. Has become obsessed with learning every technique in existence. He's also pursued unnatural methods in search of eternal youth. In his quest, he created forbidden techniques, like the seal placed on Sakura, which temporarily enhances abilities, but carries serious risks, Sarutobi explained gravely. Very few can withstand it. Hokage-sama, with all due respect. I don't want this strange mark on my forehead, Sakura exclaimed. I already get teased about it. This just makes it worse. Naruko listened quietly, her gaze moving between her teammates. She stayed silent until Sakura finished, then spoke calmly. Orochimaru is after Sasuke. And I have a good idea why, she said softly. Sasuke looked at her curiously. Sasuke, when you fought him, didn't you notice how he kept complimenting your eyes? Naruko asked. Sasuke's eyes widened as realization dawned. As for Sakura, Naruko continued, trying to remove the seal directly could cause serious harm. But it can be contained using a specialized sealing technique. I believe the mark is beginning to affect her inner self, it's interfering with her chakra control. Anko, watching quietly, tilted her head, not fully understanding the concept of an inner personality. Very good analysis, Lady Naruko, Sarutobi said approvingly. However, a containment seal depends on the strength of the individual's will. And not many know the intricacies of such sealing techniques. Naruko fell silent for a moment, then spoke with quiet determination. I might have a solution. I'll need to study my father's notes. There's a way to apply a containment and chakra conversion seal. If we do it right, we can use this challenge as an opportunity. She turned to her teammates with a reassuring smile. Sakura, once you're fully rested, we'll begin the sealing process. It'll take about 48 hours. Sasuke, Konohamaru, stay by her side and help however you can. Don't leave this room unless escorted by Anbu. We still have 72 hours left. Use the time to rest and train, but follow my instructions. Team 7 nodded in agreement. The Hokage, satisfied with Naruko's plan, left with Anko. Before leaving, Naruko reminded her team to conserve energy and prepare for the next part of the exam. 3 days later. With the help of Tsunade, Naruko, and the third Hokage, Hatake Kakashi applied the containment seal to Sakura to prevent the curse mark spread. As predicted, Sakura remained unconscious for 2 days due to the strain on her chakra. During this time, Naruko, Sasuke, and Konohamaru monitored her recovery. Once her chakra levels began returning steadily, Naruko gave her the all-clear to begin preparing for the next phase of the exam. The second stage had ended, with 7 teams making it to the tower. The first to arrive was a team from Suna, setting a record of 4 hours. Next was Kurenai Yuhi's Team 8 from Konoha, completing it in 14 hours. Finally, Team 7, Naruko's team, reached the tower at the 48-hour mark. All qualifying teams gathered in the central chamber, where the Hokage and all Jounin sensei were waiting. The Hokage began a speech on the meaning of the Chunin selection exam. While many of the young Jounin drifted into their own thoughts, some took the opportunity to size up their future competitors. Suddenly, a pale-looking Jounin appeared before the Hokage, landing gracefully in a kneeling position. Sasuke recognized him immediately, the same Jounin who had announced that there were too many participants for the final round. The pale-looking Jounin, Gekko Hayate, stood before the 7 Jounin teams gathered inside the tower. Cough as I informed Hokage-sama cough. Many Jounin have successfully passed the second stage of the exam. We have cough decided that, before proceeding to the third and cough final test, which will consist of one-on-one matches, we will conduct a preliminary round. His voice was raspy but carried enough authority. Those of you who require cough medical attention or do not feel ready to continue may raise your hand to withdraw. A single hand rose from the far right, followed by a composed voice. I'd like to withdraw from the exam. All eyes turned toward the silver-haired Jounin who had made the decision. The second stage was enough for me, he said calmly, drawing curious glances from the senior shinobi present. The third Hokage offered a subtle nod, his gaze thoughtful. Your name? Hayate asked, retrieving a clipboard from Anko to mark the withdrawal. Yakashi Kabuto, he replied casually, adjusting his glasses with his fingertip. Naruko, Anko, and Ibiki silently observed as Kabuto exchanged a few quiet words with his teammates before exiting the arena. Now that cough there are no more participants stepping down. Cough we will begin the preliminary matches, Hayate announced, gathering everyone's attention again. He produced a rectangular device from his pocket and pressed a button. 2 panels slid open from the wall, revealing a digital screen. Please cough direct your attention to the screen to see the first matchup, he instructed. The room went quiet as the screen lit up, names flashing across it with a beeping sound, building anticipation. After a few tense seconds, the screen settled. Akata Yoroi vs Haruno Sakura. Would the two whose names are displayed cough please remain in the arena, Hayate instructed, his tired eyes scanning the motionless group. The third Hokage cleared his throat, and Hayate prompted the Jounin to guide their teams to the viewing balcony. Naruko turned to Team 7, speaking to Konohamaru and Sasuke. You two head up first, she said with a soft smile. Once they were out of earshot, she leaned in to whisper something to Sakura. Remember, the seal isn't complete yet, so manage your chakra carefully, or end the match quickly. Don't let it activate, or security will intervene immediately, Naruko advised, casting a glance at Sakura's opponent. The true strength of a shinobi comes from fighting for those we care about. Show everyone how much you've grown, Sakura. She gave Sakura an encouraging smile before turning to ascend the stairs to the balcony. Sakura and Yoroi remained, facing off under Hayate's watchful eye. There are no specific rules, Hayate began. The match will end when one participant is unconscious or surrenders. Begin. With that, Sakura and Yoroi leapt back, putting distance between them. Naruko leaned against the wall as the match began, briefly closing her eyes to focus inward. When she opened them again, she found herself within the depths of her subconscious, facing the massive sealed chamber of the QB. Are you awake? Naruko asked, gazing into the darkness where deep breathing echoed. Yes, I'm awake, Naruko, came the familiar voice of the QB. 2 large crimson eyes opened in the shadows. Naruko nodded in response. How are you feeling? She asked, conjuring a chair and taking a seat within the dreamlike chamber. I'm fine, though still recovering from earlier, the QB replied, stretching lazily. That 5-element seal drained a considerable amount of my chakra. I won't be able to provide as much as usual for a while. But the seals are functioning properly again. You should thank that healer, Lady Tsunade, for her help. Naruko chuckled softly. Yeah, I'll pass along your thanks. Mischievous fox. Just then, another figure entered the room, clad in black. Zanpaku gave Naruko a courteous nod, which she returned before inspecting the reinforced seal. Lady Naruko. The match your teammate is in has become quite intense, Zanpaku said. He nodded respectfully toward the QB, who simply huffed and turned away with a low growl. Oh, and Naruko, the QB added, a hint of caution in its tone, there's someone nearby. Someone familiar to me. An old trickster. Be on guard, his presence feels unstable. Naruko gave a thoughtful look to the sealed gate, then began to leave. Understood. As she departed, Zanpaku remained, his attention now on the great beast. "So, when will you tell Naruko your true name?" the Kyuubi asked in a low voice, cautious that Naruko might overhear. "When she's ready. Right now, she's still growing. In time, perhaps," Zanpaku replied with a small smile before exiting as well. Left alone, the Kyuubi muttered, "Yeah, me too. I'd like to see her surpass all expectations. Even more than. Bah, not going to say his name. Not like I'm impressed or anything." Back in the arena, Naruko opened her eyes, turning her focus to the ongoing match. Sakura was breathing heavily, kunai scattered around the floor. Yoroi had extended a glowing hand and was steadily advancing. Sakura stepped back quickly, tossing her last kunai, which Yoroi dodged. "I'm out of kunai. I can't waste chakra. This opponent," she thought, pivoting and driving a strong kick into Yoroi's midsection. He grunted and recoiled, but quickly retaliated, pressing a glowing hand to Sakura's forehead, attempting to sap her chakra. Sakura let out a sharp breath as she felt her chakra levels dropping and the pressure of the curse mark intensifying. Determined not to give in, she delivered a swift kick to Yoroi, forcing him to release her. From the sidelines, she could hear familiar voices cheering her on. A quick glance showed her teammate Konohamaru waving enthusiastically, and Naruko watching intently from above, eyes filled with curiosity and support. A small smirk formed on Sakura's face as a plan formed in her mind. She paused just long enough to focus what remained of her chakra into her leg. As Yoroi charged at her again, Sakura slammed her heel into the floor with all her strength, launching several tiles into the air. One of them grazed Yoroi's cheek, causing him to stumble slightly. Sakura didn't wait, she quickly removed the weights from her legs, dashing forward with newfound speed, trailing pink streaks through the air. From the observation balcony, the Konoha Jounin were taken aback. Their expressions showed disbelief as they watched Sakura gracefully dodge Yoroi's next move. Then, with precision and control, she summoned chakra to her fists. Blades of concentrated energy formed around her knuckles. "Senbone Sakura Renda," she called out, launching a series of powerful strikes. Yoroi struggled to keep up as the chakra-enhanced strikes tore through his defenses, pushing him back. Although tired and hurting, Sakura pushed on, aware that her energy was nearly gone and the curse seal was beginning to react again. Not now, she thought desperately as the seal's marks began to creep over her skin. But she quickly regained mental control, suppressing the seal's influence while drawing together the last of her energy for one final attack. Yoroi rushed in again, his hand glowing with chakra, hoping to drain hers. But the moment he saw Sakura's determined face, he hesitated. There was an intensity in her eyes that made him pause. Her inner voice surged forward. "Don't touch me!" Inner Sakura shouted with fierce determination. Sakura's fist glowed brightly as she launched it forward, striking Yoroi square in the face. The force sent him flying across the arena, where he crashed into the far wall, leaving a visible imprint. Sakura dropped to one knee, breathing heavily, the last of her chakra spent. The curse seal retreated slowly, no longer active. Hayate walked over to Yoroi to check on him, then gave a nod. "Winner, Haruno Sakura," Hayate announced, signaling for the medical team. The medics rushed in to assist both the defeated Yoroi and the exhausted Sakura. Meanwhile, Naruko gently picked up the sleeping Sakura, carrying her carefully up the stairs. "She's all right, just worn out. The seal held, and all her training really came through," Naruko said with a warm smile as she laid Sakura down near her teammates. Kurenai gave a nod, visibly relieved. Ino, watching from the stands, was stunned. She had just seen her longtime rival take down a skilled opponent with overwhelming strength and precision. She also noticed the markings on Sakura's forehead before they quickly disappeared. What kind of training did Naruko put her through? Many of the Jounin wondered. They had seen Naruko train hard and with focus, but they didn't expect such a transformation in Sakura, who had once seemed less capable in the academy. Naruko stood quietly, her expression calm but confident, scanning the arena with a knowing look. "You all haven't seen anything yet," she thought with a grin, glancing toward the remaining members of Team 7. Meanwhile, Lee was bursting with excitement. He had watched Sakura's match in awe, recognizing her unshakable determination and growth. "She's amazing," Lee shouted, eyes shining with admiration. He turned to his sensei, the ever-enthusiastic guy, and together they struck their signature pose, shouting words of encouragement. The rest of the crowd shifted their attention as Hayate's voice brought them back to the tournament. Next match, Aburame Shino vs Kankuru of the Sand. Both combatants stepped onto the arena floor from opposite balconies. They met at the center, each calmly studying the other. Kankuro lowered the large, cloth-wrapped bundle from his back, smirking as he prepared for the battle. Shino remained composed, hands in his pockets, face unreadable behind his high collar and shaded glasses. The subtle hum of his insect allies buzzed quietly in the background, alerting him to nearby chakra. "Give up now," Shino said simply. "If this continues, you may need a week to recover." Kankuro narrowed his eyes and lunged forward, aiming a punch at Shino's head. Shino raised an arm to block it, and instantly realized something wasn't right. The sensation was wrong. It wasn't skin he had contacted, it was wood. Suddenly, Kankuro appeared behind him and wrapped his arms tightly around Shino. "Maybe you should be the one to give up," he said, smirking. From the balcony, Tamari and Baki exchanged frustrated glances. Gaara silently watched, unimpressed. Shino didn't respond. With precise movement, he drove his elbow backward, connecting with what sounded like cracking wood. Kankuru's face began to flake away, revealing the lifeless face of a puppet. The real Kankuro stood elsewhere, only now realizing that he'd walked into a trap. Bugs began to swarm from Shino's body, crawling across the floor toward Kankuro. The wrappings around the puppet unraveled, revealing the real Janan of the sand. He paled as he felt his chakra begin to drain rapidly. Shino stood silently, a calm and steady presence, while the arena fell quiet with awe. The destruction insects had now completely covered Kankuru's puppet. Some had begun traveling along the chakra threads, moving steadily toward Kankuro himself. "As I said at the start of the match. Surrender, or you'll be forced to forfeit," a calm voice spoke from behind. Kankuro turned to see his opponent, Aburame Shino, along with two clones holding 6 kunai aimed precisely at key points around him. Gritting his teeth, Kankuro released his chakra threads and raised his hand in surrender. "Winner, Aburame Shino," Hayate announced, prompting cheers from the Konoha Janan. "I could have continued, but if I got hurt, I'd be no help later," Kankuro thought as he retrieved Karasu and began rewrapping it. While heading back, he felt the heavy stare of Gaara, which sent a chill through him. When he returned to their observation point, Tamari started scolding him for his carelessness, until she was interrupted. Gaara took a step forward. Sand trickled silently to the ground as he moved. "Don't fail again," Gaara said simply. Kankuro gulped and gave a small nod. As much as he respected Gaara, her presence still unnerved him. The others nearby noticed the odd tension but didn't comment, focusing instead on the next match. Uchiha Sasuke vs Dosu Kinuta. Sasuke wore a confident expression as he read his opponent's name. Dosu, hidden behind his bandages, also allowed himself a subtle smile, his mind focused on the upcoming match. Hayate gave the signal, stepping back as the two Janan began their match. Many of the Janan and their instructors leaned forward in anticipation, eager to see the abilities of the remaining Uchiha. "No running away this time," Sasuke said simply. Dosu responded with a dismissive scoff and launched himself forward, his metallic gauntlet raised. Sasuke jumped backward, maintaining a safe distance. Dosu followed, but Sasuke's speed made it difficult to close the gap. Observing carefully, Sasuke noted that Dosu's primary technique revolved around his sound-based attack. "I can't let him get close. And if he has a ranged version of that technique, I'll be in trouble. I need to end this quickly," Sasuke thought. He leapt over Dosu and launched a kick toward his head. Dosu raised his arm and sent a wave of sound toward Sasuke. The Uchiha managed to catch his arm mid-strike, but suddenly winced as vibrations from the attack surged through him. Falling to his knees, Sasuke struggled to steady his breathing and focus. In the stands, the Konoha nin were encouraging him. Naruko, standing at the railing, shouted, "Sasuke, what are you doing? Focus." The familiar voice of her teammate seemed to snap Sasuke back to attention. With renewed determination, he ducked beneath Dosu's next attack and sent a strong vertical kick to his chin, sending him airborne. From above, 3 shinobi immediately recognized the move. "That's my technique," Lee thought, narrowing his eyes as Sasuke performed the Konoha Cage Byu, positioning himself behind Dosu in mid-air. This time, something original. Sasuke thought, completing a series of hand seals. "Fire style, great fireball jutsu," he declared, sending a large flame at Dosu from close range. The fire engulfed Dosu's form, the heat beginning to singe through the protective wrappings. Realizing the bandages were shielding Dosu, Sasuke switched to hand-to-hand combat, landing a powerful kick, followed by a punch, before wrapping Dosu with chakra-infused wires. He somersaulted backward, twisting the wires to pull Dosu downward. Dosu hit the arena floor with force. Sasuke exhaled, his red Sharingan eyes slowly returning to their usual dark color. He took out a pair of kunai and flung them precisely, striking Dosu's sound device and disabling it. Hayate stepped forward and raised his hand. Winner, Uchiha Sasuke. Ino and Tenten cheered enthusiastically, while many of the Jounin nodded in recognition of Sasuke's skill. After being cleared by the medics, Sasuke climbed back to the viewing area, where Konohamaru and Lee congratulated him. He nodded with a smirk and turned to Team 7's Jounin commander. Good work. But next time, don't rely on borrowed techniques. You're not quite ready for them, Naruko said, smiling warmly as she turned back to watch the screen. Sasuke allowed a small smile before slumping against the wall, feeling the effects of the physical exertion. You're not ready yet. That's why your body's struggling, Naruko thought, watching him carefully. The screen flashed once more, signaling the next match. Rock Lee vs Akimichi Kuji. Lee's excited shouts echoed across the chamber as he celebrated. Guy's cheers quickly followed. Nearby, Naruko, Asuma, and Kurenai covered their ears from the enthusiastic duo. Kuji, meanwhile, was visibly nervous when he saw his name. I don't want to fight, he whispered. A reassuring hand landed on his shoulder. Shikamaru offered him a tired smile. Kuji. You remember what Naruko said during training? Never give up. You haven't even tried yet. So go out there and show everyone what you can do. Ino leaned in with her own approach. Hey Kuji, did you know those two were making fun of you earlier? I heard Lee said something about your size. Kuji's face turned serious as he clenched his fists. If you do well, Asuma added with a smile, I'll treat you to that barbecue place you like. Kuji's eyes lit up at the promise. Really? His determination surged. Thoughts of grilled meat filled his mind as he stepped forward. I'm not giving up now, he shouted, entering the arena. Hayate nodded and started the match. Yosh. It's finally my time to shine. Lee called out, full of spirit. You'll see I'm strong too, Kuji said, performing a single seal. Expansion jutsu. He grew rapidly, his body enlarging as his limbs folded inward. Human boulder, Kuji declared, spinning forward like a massive wheel, heading straight for the distracted Lee. Lee recovered with surprising agility, springing back to his feet and shaking his head. Wahoo dared strike the face of the noble green warrior? Lee exclaimed, settling into his battle stance. Apologies, Kuji-san. You caught me off guard. It won't happen again, he added with a confident smile, giving Kuji his signature nice guy pose before resuming his ready stance. With a burst of energy, Lee charged straight at Kuji, who stood firmly, eyes locked on the incoming opponent. Konoha Senpu. Lee called out as he unleashed a high-speed spinning kick. Kuji responded quickly, catching Lee's foot with ease and swinging him to the ground. Up in the balcony, Guy's eyes widened in surprise at how Kuji handled Lee's attack. Unbelievable. That's strength. He caught Lee mid-technique with no hesitation. Guy thought, glancing over at Asuma's composed expression and a cheering Naruko. Down below, Lee had already bounced back to his feet, brushing off dust from the impact. A slight dent in the floor showed where he had landed. He's naturally strong. Lee thought, adjusting his stance again. In the spectators area, Shikamaru observed the match closely, noting how Kuji was finally using his full strength. This is a bit troublesome. Kuji might be the strongest Jonin here physically. The Akimichi clan's natural build and high energy reserves really give them a major edge. Nearly rivaling Tsunade-sama's strength. Lee. Guy's voice boomed through the chamber. Lee immediately distanced himself from Kuji and looked up at his mentor. Lee. You may remove them, Guy declared proudly, his teeth sparkling as he grinned. The other Jounin looked confused, wondering what Guy meant. With a bright smile, Lee reached down to unfasten the weights on his legs. He lifted them briefly before letting them drop with a massive thud. Dust shot into the air, and the ground cracked beneath the impact, revealing just how heavy those weights were. Yosh. Kuji-kun. Now I'll show you the true power of youthful determination, Lee said enthusiastically before vanishing from sight. For the first time during the match, Kuji felt uncertain. The energetic, green-clad shinobi had been holding back this whole time. Flashes of green darted around as Lee sped in circles, making Kuji dizzy just trying to follow his movements. Suddenly, Lee appeared in a low crouch before Kuji and launched a vertical kick, striking Kuji's chin and sending him airborne. Not wasting a moment, Lee followed him up into the air, launching more kicks to keep him aloft. 3 packets of gourmet pork chips tumbled from Kuji's clothes as he rose. Kuji, unaware his treasured snacks had fallen, began forming a hand seal for his clan's signature technique. As he began focusing his chakra, Lee wrapped him in his arm bandages midair and started spinning toward the ground. Everyone watched in awe as Lee spun with Kuji in a dynamic aerial maneuver. Just as it seemed they would crash, Kuji activated his partial expansion jutsu in desperation. His enlarged form tore through the bandages just as they hit the ground. Instead of a crash, the landing was cushioned by his increased size, and the two bounced slightly. Lee was flung off to the side, surprised by the unexpected rebound. From the rubble, Lee stood up, slightly disoriented but smiling. He was impressed. He hadn't fought many people who made him exert this much effort. Guy-sensei. I want to prove I can be a great shinobi through taijutsu alone. Now, I must go even further. Lee readied himself to open one of the inner gates. Meanwhile, Kuji searched frantically for his food stash. He soon noticed his 3 gourmet chip packs scattered on the floor, near Lee. You ate all my food, Kuji shouted, his chakra surging as frustration bubbled up. Lee looked confused and startled by the accusation. Partial expansion jutsu, arms, Kuji cried. His arms grew massive as he caught the surprised Lee and began slamming him back and forth. Up in the balcony, Team 10 looked worried. Asuma watched silently, and Shikamaru followed Naruko's example by facepalming in frustration. Kuji continued his attacks with determination, unaware that Lee had activated the healing gate, temporarily boosting his stamina and repairing his minor injuries. Despite Kuji's effort, Lee was still standing and preparing to go further. Kuji's chakra reserves were nearly gone, and exhaustion began to take its toll. I don't have much left. Maybe I should just end this. If I surrender, maybe Asuma-sensei will still treat me to barbecue. Kuji thought, his mind drifting to thoughts of sizzling beef skewers. Just as Kuji tried to raise his hand to forfeit, Lee's next transformation began, and no one heard the surrender. Third gate, life gate, open, Lee exclaimed as his skin took on a reddish hue and energy radiated around him. Kuji, startled by the intense chakra, quickly released Lee, waving his hands to shake off the uncomfortable sensation. Naruko watched closely, her expression serious. She turned to Guy with concern. Guy-sensei, please tell me Lee isn't going to use that technique. Guy smiled proudly but didn't answer. Instead, he turned back to the fight. Fourth gate, pain gate, open. Lee let out a powerful shout as his body surged with even more energy. Kuji, nearly depleted and exhausted, instinctively attempted another size expansion as Lee vanished from view. With lightning speed, Lee reappeared and launched Kuji into the air once again. The barrage of attacks began, Lee kicking and punching with intense speed. Team 10 and Naruko watched with growing concern. Extreme Lotus, Lee shouted as he finished his technique, driving both himself and Kuji into the ground. The room fell silent. Dust and debris floated in the air until the impact site was finally revealed. Both Lee and Kuji lay unconscious on the ground. Hayate, after a brief pause, announced the result. Since both participants are unable to continue, this match is declared a draw. Medics were immediately summoned to care for the injured Jinan. Naruko turned to Guy with a piercing gaze. Guy-sensei. I know you taught him that technique for a reason. But if Lee's injuries are serious, that responsibility falls on your shoulders. Guy said nothing, watching in quiet concern as the medics began their work. How is Kuji? Naruko asked as she joined Team 10. The medical nin answered, thanks to his clan techniques, the impact was partially absorbed. He fell unconscious due to chakra exhaustion and strain, but he'll recover with rest. Naruko nodded in relief. Fifth match, Kintsuchi vs Tenten. The crowd remained distracted by the previous intense fight. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his attention back to the new match, but it had already reached its conclusion. Kintsuchi, unable to continue due to fatigue and physical discomfort, forfeited. Winner by forfeit, Tenten, Hayate announced. The crowd barely reacted, many still shaken by the previous match. The next match was announced, sixth match, Inuzuka Kiba vs Sarutobi Konohamaru. The crowd murmured as the two young ninja prepared to battle. Kiba cheered confidently while Konohamaru focused himself, determined not to be underestimated. The match began with both opponents circling each other. Kiba, growing impatient, launched a swift elbow attack, only for Konohamaru to counter and skid backward. The ground trembled as Konohamaru slammed his fists down, catching Kiba off guard. Akamaru leapt forward, but Konohamaru dodged, only for Kiba to hit him again. Still, Konohamaru stood up, grinning determinedly. Match just started, dog breathe. Let's see who's still standing at the end, he said. The battle continued with techniques and counters. Konohamaru used shadow clones and his unique fighting style, while Kiba used his clan's speed and coordination with Akamaru. Eventually, Konohamaru was exhausted but still fighting. Kiba prepared a final move with Akamaru, turning the battle into a high-speed clash. As the smoke cleared and the dust settled, the match remained intense, each side giving their all. The sound of Kiba and Akamaru's coordinated attack echoed through the arena. Hearing it draw near, Konohamaru swiftly extended his staff in the direction of the sound. With a well-timed swing, the staff connected with something solid. As the dust began to settle, Kiba and a now normal Akamaru came into view. Konohamaru smirked, just as his remaining shadow clone, hidden behind him until now, sprang into action. Kiba let out a groan as he was caught off guard, struggling to get up. Akamaru whimpered softly by his side, clearly exhausted. "Hey, lucky hit." Kiba muttered with a challenging grin, reaching into his pouch for a backup plan. He searched for his soldier pills, the two he had saved for emergencies, but his fingers came up empty. Panic flickered in his eyes. "Where are they? I know I kept them here." "Looking for these?" came two voices from opposite directions. Kiba and Akamaru turned to see two Konohamaras, each holding a soldier pill in their outstretched hands. The real one was easy to identify, he bore the signs of battle, his uniform slightly torn. With a growl, Kiba leapt forward. Even without Akamaru's assistance, he believed he could handle Konohamaru. But Konohamaru and his clone dodged gracefully. As they landed, both planted strips of paper on the ground. Kiba spun into his signature technique, fang over fang, aimed directly at Konohamaru. Just as Kiba charged, green smoke burst from the papers, creating a strong-smelling smoke screen. Kiba staggered, clutching his nose. "What is that smell?" he exclaimed, trying to stay focused as tears blurred his vision. Konohamaru didn't hesitate. His clone darted forward, launching Kiba into the air with a swift kick. "That's called skunk bomb," Konohamaru called out, "and now it's time to show you what I've learned." He tossed his staff upward and formed a hand sign. Shadow clone technique. 4 clones appeared around Kiba in the air. "Now, check this out, transformation." In a puff of smoke, the clones took the form of majestic animals, a tiger, a turtle, a phoenix, and a dragon. One after another, they launched their coordinated strikes. Suzaku. The phoenix soared with fiery elegance. Byakko. The tiger's wind swept with fierce precision. Seryu. The dragon shimmered with icy power. Genbu. The turtle slammed forward with tremendous strength. Kiba was sent tumbling to the ground, overwhelmed by the powerful yet controlled attacks. Panting from exertion, Konohamaru landed gracefully. "Blade of the 4 spirits, combo complete," he announced proudly. Hayate stepped forward and declared him the winner. "Yes," Konohamaru shouted, jumping with joy as cheers erupted from the Konoha spectators. Turning toward the stands, Konohamaru saw his grandfather, the 3rd Hokage, smiling with pride. Beside him, Asuma gave a nod of approval, still holding his usual cigarette. "Good job, Konohamaru. You've come a long way," a familiar voice said from behind. Konohamaru turned to see Naruko smiling brightly at him. He matched her grin before jogging back up to the balcony as Hayate prepared for the next match. "Next match, Tamari of the Sand vs Shikamaru Nara," Hayate announced. Shikamaru sighed. "So troublesome, why do I have to fight a girl?" he muttered as Ino and Asuma urged him forward. Tamari, unimpressed, raised an eyebrow. The moment the match began, Tamari unfolded her large fan and unleashed a powerful gust of wind. Shikamaru dodged by leaping high, extending his jump with chakra. "She's from the sand, they use wind techniques and puppets," he analyzed midair. As he landed, Tamari immediately launched another technique. "Ninja art, whirlwind scythe," she shouted, slicing through the air. Shikamaru reacted too late and was sent crashing back. As he recovered, Shikamaru thought aloud. "I don't want to lose to a girl, but I don't want to hurt her either, what a dilemma." Tamari didn't let up. "What's the matter? Come on," she taunted, launching another flurry of wind. Shikamaru braced himself against the wall, enduring the storm of wind while carefully observing. When the assault paused, Shikamaru hurled kunai and shuriken, not to hit Tamari, but to misdirect. She deflected them easily, laughing. But as she did, she failed to notice the shadow creeping toward her. "Shadow possession jutsu," Shikamaru called out calmly. Tamari jumped back, evading the shadow. She marked its limit and stayed beyond range, until she stepped too close to a wall. Suddenly, her body stiffened. What? My shadow extended from the wall behind you, Shikamaru explained as he held the seal. Now, time to try something new. Two shadowy arms rose beside him, forming humanoid shapes, his original Shadow Phantom technique. This is annoying to use, but it's worth it, Shikamaru said, almost sounding bored. Phantom Spiral. The shadows whirled around Tamari in a cyclone of swirling energy. The crowd watched, fascinated. Even the seasoned ninja took note. It appears we have another young genius among us, the third Hokage remarked with a smile. Hayate, after checking on Tamari, raised his hand. Winner, Shikamaru Nara. Kankuro leapt down to help his sister, glancing nervously between her and Gaara. I'm more worried about her waking up in a bad mood than anything. Gaara said nothing, his eyes already fixed on the screen. The next match was set. Hyuga Neji vs Hyuga Hinata, the board displayed. Hinata's steps were hesitant, but her heart was steady. Of all people, why did it have to be Neji? She thought. But she reminded herself that Naruko was watching from above. I can't back down now, not when she's watching. Neji's sensei, Might Guy, grabbed his shoulder. Neji, don't let your feelings toward the main house cloud your judgment. Neji gave only a cold glance before stepping forward. Facing her cousin, Hinata took a deep breath. I joined this exam to change myself, she said, voice shaky but sincere. Neji frowned. You can't change. It's pointless. His words were sharp, but Hinata stood firm. Suddenly, Naruko's voice rang out from the stands. Enough talking. If Hinata says she's here to change, then let her prove it. Believe in her. Everyone turned toward the blonde Jounin, surprised by her sudden outburst. Naruko's eyes held a quiet strength. Neji scoffed but returned to his stance. Hayate started the match. Hinata dashed forward, focusing her chakra. Neji dodged, then countered. Hinata ducked and struck back. The match quickly turned into a graceful display of the Hyuga clan's refined taijutsu. From above, Konohamaru and Sasuke watched silently. Come on, Hinata, Naruko whispered with a soft smile. Show him who you are. Even as Neji used his advanced techniques to block her chakra flow, Hinata refused to quit. With her remaining strength, she pushed herself to rise once more, determination burning in her eyes. I can still move, I can still fight, I can't give up now, not while she's watching. As Hinata formed a glowing blade of chakra in her hand, the match continued, the crowd leaning in to witness not just a battle, but a transformation. Just as Naruko-san had shown her. Hinata thought, rushing forward toward her opponent despite her physical limits. Ninpa, chakra no yaiba. She called out, as the chakra in her palm solidified into a short, glowing blade. Neji stepped back, surprised at the unfamiliar technique. Who taught you that? He asked, quickly gathering his chakra. Hinata answered calmly, from someone who believes in me. Someone I truly admire, though the last words were more of a whisper, her eyes gleaming with quiet resolve. She charged forward, aiming the chakra blade like a lance. Neji activated his defense, chakra spinning outward from his body. Hakazu Kaiden, he shouted, creating a protective dome that deflected Hinata's attack. The impact knocked Hinata back, sending her into the wall with force. Neji stepped out of the dome, visibly confident. A setback doesn't change your outcome, he remarked. Amid the debris, Hinata stood once more, bruised but unshaken. Her eyes still carried that determined spark, which unsettled Neji. How are you still able to stand? He asked, his tone laced with disbelief. Hinata said nothing, resuming her stance with grace and purpose. I won't give up. This is my way as a shinobi, she said, voice strained but steady. She pushed forward, ignoring the pain. Neji intercepted her, skillfully closing off her chakra points, limiting her ability to fight. You've done well, Hinata-sama. But this match is over. You can't win, this was decided the moment our names were paired. Hinata, struggling but undeterred, looked up. That's not true. Neji Niazan. The one burdened by the fate of the Hyuga is you. Her words struck a chord. Neji trembled, clearly rattled. Unable to contain his emotions, Neji rushed forward, intending to end the match. The attending Jounin and Proctor Hayate noticed immediately. Neji-san, stop. The match is over, Hayate shouted, moving to intervene. As Neji neared Hinata, his hand glowing with chakra, another hand suddenly intercepted him. Naruko stood beside him, calm but unwavering. "This match has ended," she said firmly. Kurenai and Guy arrived seconds later, assessing the situation. "So, even the Jounin are here to stop it. More leniency for the main house?" Neji said bitterly. Naruko released his hand and stepped back, checking on Hinata before returning to the viewing platform. "Hey, you! Loud Jounin," Neji called out. Naruko turned slightly to face him, her expression unreadable. "If you're really a shinobi, you shouldn't be cheering for others," Neji continued. "That's for those who can't win themselves. I guess that includes you." Naruko remained silent. Neji pushed further. "I heard you're an orphan. Must be because your father didn't want you. Maybe he was just like you." Sasuke, Konohamaru, and the other onlookers exchanged tense glances. Even Guy looked alarmed. "Neji, enough," Guy warned. But Naruko was gone from her position. Suddenly, Neji was knocked back, landing hard against the wall. Naruko stood where he had just been. "Your student has gone too far, Mito-san. I'll ignore what he said about me, but I won't tolerate any disrespect toward my father. Or the fourth Hokage." Neji staggered up, still stunned. Naruko met his gaze. "I dare you to repeat that." Neji, still defiant, said, "Your father was weak." In an instant, Naruko disappeared again. Neji activated his Byakugan but couldn't locate her. "He's fast. Too fast," Guy murmured. Then, a sudden force hit Neji in the stomach, Naruko's punch landing perfectly. He was sent tumbling. Before he could recover, Naruko appeared above him and gently flicked his forehead. Neji slumped into unconsciousness, unharmed but clearly bested. Sasuke quietly handed a wad of money to Konohamaru, who grinned. The San siblings were watching with quiet awe. Gaara, especially, stood still. Inside him, Shukaku stirred, not with rage, but with fear. "No. It can't be. It's her." The beast whispered. Gaara, for the first time, felt Shukaku tremble. He turned to his brother. "Kankuro." "Why yes, Gaara?" Kankuro replied, startled. "Find out more about that blonde Jounin," Gaara said softly, "eyes still on Naruko." Kankuro approached the Konoha group, speaking to Tenten. "Hey. Kunoichi. Can I ask something?" Tenten looked puzzled. "Sure? What do you know about that blonde Jounin?" he asked. "Oh, her? That's Uzumaki Naruko. Just promoted to Jounin. She was a captain in the Anbu before this," Tenten explained. "People say she's faster than Guy-sensei. After today, I believe it." Kankuro nodded and returned to the San siblings. Meanwhile, Gaara had just defeated his opponent with ease. Kankuro watched uneasily as medics helped the other boy out of the arena. "Too weak," Gaara muttered. The next match passed quietly. The final was won when the older Jinan forfeited after being outmaneuvered by a determined Kunoichi. The Hokage descended into the arena with his advisors to announce the final round of matches. The final test will take place in 1 month, with a public audience. "The matchups are as follows," he said, passing a scroll to Hayate. Hayate opened it and began to read. Final round matches. 1. Haruno Sakura vs Hyuga Neji. 2. Aburame Shino vs Yamanaka Ino. 3. Nara Shikamaru vs Sarutobi Konohamaru. 4. Sabaku no Gaara vs Uchiha Sasuke. 5. Tenten vs winner of match 1. The Jinan noted their opponents. After the announcement, they were dismissed. The Jounin returned to the Hokage's office for a strategy meeting, with Lady Tsunade already present. Back in her quarters, Naruko carefully sealed a set of scrolls labeled with her students' names. Time to prepare Team 7 for the finals, she thought, vanishing into the air, her next mission already on her mind. Dear YouTube family. That's all for this episode. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more awesome videos. Your support means the world to me. Much love. 6 Path Weeb.